Logic is not like kung fu. Your kung fu is not better than my kung fu. There is only one kung fu in this situation. There's only one logic. There is not different forms of it. There's just one form of it. So, same thing with rationality. Rationality would be if you're saying something which maps onto logic or not. And so, if you're saying something which is irrational, it's not logical. It makes no sense. It doesn't map onto it. So, it's not like kung fu where you can say my kung fu, my logic better than your logic. There is only one logic.
Okay, if that's the way that you want to interpret logic.
No. That's the only way it can be. It's like math. Okay, here, let me demonstrate it for you. So that you know that I'm telling the truth. Hang on. Can 2 plus 2 ever not equal 4?
If I were to think about the logic of math, maybe there's someone.
No. Can 2 plus 2 ever not equal 4?
By the rules of math, probably not.
But and the rules of math would be an extension of logic, right?
Well, life isn't exactly like math.
Unless there was
yeah. But I just want to make sure that we're clear that there can be no your math, my math, right? There cannot be a you have a math where 2 plus 2 does not equal 4, and I have a math where 2 plus 2 does equal 4. 2 plus 2 has to equal 4, right?
Missing information. When you guys talk about this question about man versus bear, there's missing information. Like, you guys are putting it up to make fun of women for feeling bad about feeling scared of a man. That's what I hear when I hear the question.
Yeah, but that's just feelings. That's not. It's not the intent.
Like to finish, if it's possible. So I think that women were taught from a young age. Like in middle school, I was shown a video about all the things that men could do to you. Like they could go under your cars and slash your
Yeah.
face.
Hang on. Before we get into this, though, and I'll let you make your point because I want you to be able to. Can we get back to this idea that 2 plus 2, there's some scenario where 2 plus 2 is not going to equal 4?
Mhm.
Yeah, so you agree with me that there's no hang on, that there's no scenario where if you understand that 2 represents 2 ones and another 2 represents 2 ones, that it is impossible to add 4 ones together and not get 4, correct?
I agree. Without any missing information, I agree. But
okay, so then it can't be then hang on. So then hang on. I just want to make sure we're clear. So then it can't be her math versus my math. That's why I was making trying to get her to understand there's only one way to do logic because there's laws which govern logic, just like there's laws which govern mathematics. That's my point.
I'm talking about the intention of the question when you talk about it in a group like this. Like, you're trying to look at women and say, oh, isn't that funny that you're afraid to be alone with a man?
No.
But I actually agree with you. Hang on, I agree with you. Listen, I just want to be charitable again to your view.
No, it is.
Because I agree with your view. So hang on, let me be charitable to your view. I also think that the intent of the question is to get to something deeper. That's what you're saying here, right? The intent of the question is to get at something deeper. But that's what I'm doing with the logical cross-examination, is trying to see if when we go deeper, if this makes less sense or more sense. You say that that's to laugh at you, but I think that it's not to laugh at you, but it's to make a determination as to what is rational and true versus what's based purely on emotion. And so that's not shaming you. Isn't that the opposite of shaming you? Isn't it the opposite of shaming you to say, listen, I'd like to rationally go through this to see if this actually makes sense, and I'm going to treat you as a peer while we do that. That seems like the opposite of shaming.
Well, you did that to her, and now I think it's time to move on.
Well, hold on.
I mean, he did that to her.
What?
I don't think he was trying to shame her or anything. I think he was just
personally, I don't feel shamed. I just don't think that you were really trying to understand my point. It came off like you were trying to look at this as a logic game when we all know that it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of.
Well, I think that the point is that I don't see this whole scenario as necessary in the same way that you do, and that's fine. I just think that obviously we were trying to get at something deeper, and people were trying to explain that from their own experience, from emotion, or whatever it is that you think is superficial in this sense, or I don't know exactly how you're viewing it. I just think that in this situation, that's where people were coming from, and the idea of trying to boil it down to just a logic game is
How
aside
else
from
can
the
we
Bible.
determine? How can we make determinations about whether or not something's a rational fear or an irrational fear, or something makes sense or it doesn't make sense, unless we use logic and we use some way to probe this from some changing standard, which logic would be, to make a determination as to whether or not, hey, there could just be a mass delusion going on here. Perhaps you do think these things from the position of how you feel. That's fine. I'm not saying you can't feel that way. I'm just saying it could be irrational that you feel that way. And so, how am I supposed to discuss it with you if you just shut down and say, but I hate that logic stuff because all that matters is how I feel? Doesn't that seem, again, irrational?